Hey Flosstube, it's Emer here, and this is a video I've been really excited to film. If you remember in my last video, I talked about a shipment from the UK getting delayed due to some customs issues. I originally thought that the parcel would be shipped back to the UK. Apparently there weren't issues with the parcel because it eventually found its way to me. So because I actually managed to get that parcel that I spent so long waiting for, I have some haul to show you, and I am just so incredibly excited to talk about this. I'm going to start off with my traditional whip, the Peppermint Purple Blackwork Stitch Long Sampler. This is week 34, that long bar. And as you might have noticed, I have a grime guard on this, and it has got bees on it because if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I like bees. I can't believe I haven't had this before. Like, obviously I knew grime guard would guard against grime, but I didn't realize how much nicer it would feel to hold the frame. The frame's a little bit slippery, and so this kind of helps me get a better grip on it. And I'm just taking off the guard to show you all 34 weeks of the Blackwork so far. And as you can also see, I have finished all of the boxes for the rest of the year. I've started on the, hopefully the camera's picking it up, the single stitched outline. And when I have that done around the boxes, I will start on my ivy and leafy border. I still haven't 100% made up my mind how I'm going to stitch it, but I'm fairly certain, I'm like 95% certain that I'm going to do it in the colours of the Blackwork. And just same as I always say, I'm loving this piece. I actually only finished this week's box this morning. Normally I finish it Thursday at the latest. I think there were like 2 weeks. I finished on Friday. But I had a wedding to go to last week, as you all know. I had the wedding piece. The bride and groom absolutely loved it. After the wedding, we went to the groom's parents' house, and they have sheep up there. And we all got the bridal party. So the groomsmen, the bridesmaids, the bride and groom all got sheep with, we all got photos with some of the sheep, and I'm really surprised how well the sheep tolerated being kind of, maneuvered into place for the photos. But as we were taking them, the bride and groom had a shepherd's crook each. I was like, this is what I have stitched. It went down really well at the reception. People loved signing it. People left really sweet messages. I don't have a picture because you guys have seen it basically finished, and all I will be showing you is the personal messages for the bride and groom, which you guys probably don't care about, but also, there were messages for the bride and groom. I'm not going to post them in public. I have showed this pattern in my videos before. It is Cathedral Woods Goddess. This was actually the first Mirabilia pattern that I bought, and why I'm showing you again is I have bought fabric. I put in an order from, the website's name is on the fabric, www.fabricflare.com, but I picked up this, it was called Sage Green fabric, 32 count even weave for the Cathedral Woods Goddess to go on. I think it's nice. It's maybe a bit brighter than I anticipated. I don't plan on starting stitching her yet though, so I'm under no rush or panic to fully settle on this fabric, and if I end up going for something more subdued, that's fine. I will use this. I like 32 count even weave. It's probably my favourite count to stitch on. It'll get used. Happy days. Can you tell how excited I am? These are the two mirrors that I have wanted for so long. First one is Lilith of Labrador. I have a couple of mermaid patterns now, but what drew me to Lilith is that really kind of alien paleness about her. I love the kind of blue, I love the beading, she is the ICC of Labrador. She looks like a mermaid who lives in the cold water. And this is the same fabric from fabricflare.com. I think you can see the name there. And this one was called Dusty Blue or something, I think. Smoky Blue. And I think it's cool. It looks exactly like what I wanted for the mermaid. It looks like she's underwater. It's nice and pale. It'll complement her paleness. Happy out. And we're coming to my pride and joy, Andromeda. Just look, she's beautiful. And the fabric I got for Andromeda. Ta-da! It's perfect. It is called Purple Galaxy. Again, it's a 32 count even weave, and it's stunning. It is just really, really beautiful. I can't wait to stitch it. And you might be wondering, on the picture, she is on a rock with water. You might be wondering why I picked a starry fabric for her. So there are actually two reasons why I'm going to tell the story of Andromeda. One, to explain the starry background, and the other to explain some floss choices I have made. Oh, before I tell you the story, I'm going to show you the floss. Haven't abominated them all yet. Pretty happy with how they look against the fabric though. So Andromeda was the princess of what we now know as Ethiopia, and she, according to Greek myth, was incredibly beautiful, and her mother, the Queen of Ethiopia, Cassiopeia, which incidentally is the constellation I have pierced on my ear, was incredibly proud of her beautiful daughter and loved to boast. And this was fine until she boasted that her daughter Andromeda was more beautiful than the sea nymphs. I believe they're pronounced the Nereids, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were Poseidon's daughters, I guess. So they were unhappy with these claims. Poseidon was also unhappy, and so he flooded the kingdom and sent a giant sea monster to terrorize the place. Obviously, this caused a bit of a problem, and her parents were quite frantic, being the rulers of the kingdom and all that, and they sought advice from the gods, and Zeus advised them that sacrificing Andromeda would smooth things over with Poseidon. Feeling that they had no other option, probably didn't, they decided that they were going to chain Andromeda to a rock in the ocean and let the giant sea serpent eat her. A1 parenting, top tier parenting, guys. Anyway, luckily for Andromeda, Perseus was, I believe they say he was flying back on his winged shoes that he got from Hermes after killing poor Medusa, who 100% didn't deserve it, but Perseus was kind of tricked into going. Unhappy story, all right. But he saw Andromeda and fell in love. Slayed the sea monster, rescued her. They fell in love at first sight. I would be pretty impressed, to be honest, if someone saved my life from a giant sea monster. And he asked her to go back with him to his home. And she says, oh, well, let's ask my father for permission to marry you. And they did that. And the dad was like, yeah, you saved my daughter, you saved my kingdom. You guys can get married. And they lived happily ever after. That's pretty much it. But Andromeda was immortalized in the sky as a constellation. Hence why I've gone with the starry fabric. Her mother was also, I think her father or Perseus might have been, I don't remember, but Andromeda and her mother definitely were. So that's why I'm going for the starry background. I think it'll look really cool with the waves, to call back to the fact that she was chained to a big old rock to die. But the starry background, like, this is where she is now. She's living up in the stars. However, anyone who's familiar with Mirabilia patterns will know that they are all of very beautiful ladies, like mythological features, queens, fairies, witches, but they're all white. And they're beautiful, but a little diversity is nice. I have taken a look at some of the colour conversions other people have done. These are the threads I have for her skin tone at the moment. These are the converted threads. I like them. I might yet go a little bit darker. I'll honestly see what they look like against all of the other colours, because her dress is quite pale. I don't know. But why I am making her skin tone darker, first of all, she was princess of modern day Ethiopia. She probably wasn't as pale as she is there. But also in the story by Ovid, and other sources as well, he talks about her dark skin, and when Perseus finds her, she's described as wearing a white dress, which contrasts beautifully with her skin, and that's one of the reasons why kind of she was so striking to Perseus, just this beautiful contrast of, you know, the white dress against her dark skin. It really stood out, really complemented her features. And kind of all of the older references, all of the older stories make it clear that she was a black lady, she wasn't white. And then kind of Renaissance art did what Renaissance art does and whitewashed Andromeda. I think she would be stunning with a darker skin tone. And I also just want a little bit more representation. It's true to the story. I think she'd look good. Why not? It's my stitching. If I'm going to put a crazy amount of time into stitching this lady, I can do her skin whatever colour I want. The only concern I have about her skin is, for anybody who stitches Mirabilia, do you stitch the skin over 1 or over 2? I'll be honest, I think I like the look of skin stitched over 1. It looks a lot like smoother, softer. But I'm open to opinions, because that is 4 times as much stitching if I do her skin over 1 instead of over 2 squares. I'm going to be spending a lot of time on it anyway. I want it to look good. I just don't want to spend 100 more hours if I can help it. At the same time though, I want it to look perfect. I'm going to do the fabric justice, I'm going to do the pattern justice. I haven't put any of the beads for Lilith or Andromeda yet. My goal is to stitch the DMC first before I go for any of the Kreinik or Mill Hill beads. And I will probably start Andromeda first. I have the floss for Lilith also, and the fabric, so I guess if I want to switch between the two I can, but I plan to start with Andromeda, and then whenever I go to the Mirabilia retreat in the UK in October, I will bring both, I think, to give myself a break from it. And the final thing I want to talk about, I actually don't have the pattern, but it is the Cryptid stitch along by the Witchy Stitcher. I had originally told myself that I wasn't going to do it. I love Witchy Stitcher's designs, but it was like, oh, you know, it looked kind of expensive, and I was like, oh, I don't need another pattern. And then Friday the 13th happened. She had a sale, you guys. Very fitting. Friday the 13th, Witchy Stitcher. It was great. But I also realized that her site is actually in Canadian dollars, I think. But whatever way it worked out, the exchange rate meant that the patterns were a lot cheaper than I had originally thought, and then the sale on top made it all the sweeter. At the moment, it is just the border. It's a really cool detailed border, and it's got cryptids at the top. That's all that has been released so far. We don't know what cryptids will feature. We know that there will be 12. I hope I haven't got that wrong. I think it will be 12. And knowing the Witchy Stitcher, they will also use a lot of 310 floss. All of her patterns do. She has actually designed a little cone of doom, because of people joking that, you know, you need a whole cone of that colour to stitch her patterns. But I just wanted to talk about it because I've picked it up. I don't know when I'll start it. I'm kind of eager to start my girl Andromeda. But I just wanted to talk about it, and I wanted to ask you guys what cryptids you like, because I've been reading a little bit on cryptids. Like, they have the obvious ones, like Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, There was something else that I can't think of now. I don't know. So I'm assuming they will feature. I really hope there'll be a jackalope because I think jackalopes are so cute. While looking up jackalopes, though, I also found out about a German creature. It begins with W, and for the life of me, I can't remember the name. But it looks like a jackalope, but it sometimes has a foxtail. It has feathered wings and fangs, and I'm like, oh, they took a jackalope and made it cooler somehow. So I somehow doubt that it will also be there, but you never know. I'm assuming there'll be like a Wendigo, Chupacabra. Chupacabras are cool. They're fun. Maybe a Jersey Devil. And this is where we get into the line of like, what is classified as a cryptid? I know it's like, oh, an animal that could be real, but hasn't been proven to be real, i.e. like someone was probably drunk and saw a bear and thought it was Bigfoot. But it's fun. But I'm like, when does it cross the line into like, are all cryptids mythological creatures, but not all mythological creatures are cryptids? Is a unicorn a cryptid? That feels no. Cryptids feel like, oh, I don't know. What do you guys count as a cryptid? Like, I don't know. I'm just reminded of like a lot of mythology. For example, the myth of the banshee came from foxes screaming. We have foxes living in the park behind our house. I've been woken up a couple of times and it sounds like a woman screaming mixed with a pig being slaughtered. But it's quite scary when you wake up in the middle of the night. You go, oh my god, someone's being attacked. So you know, it's suspected that that's where the myth of the banshee came from. You wake up in the middle of the night in like medieval times or whatever, you hear a fox screaming or what sounds like a woman screaming. You can't like turn on the lights and go out and check. You're never gonna find that fox. Make up a story to say what it is. Or another big thing in Irish mythology, were the Fae and changelings, that the Fae would steal people and replace them with usually babies. They would steal babies and replace them with ugly babies of their own. But that was probably to explain away things such as like birth defects, and children born with like disabilities or maybe disfigurements. You know, it was almost a lot easier to rationalize. You know, when you don't know what this thing is, it's nearly easier to say, oh yeah, the fairies must have taken my baby and replaced it with something, than to, you know, what's the alternative? Say that like the mother did something wrong? I don't know. I just think it's really interesting how we look for ways to explain things we don't understand. I was often used to explain mental illness as well, and if adults were taken by the fairies, happens a lot with mothers post-birth, which is postpartum depression. They're not acting the same. Can't be that, you know, they're not sick because we don't know what mental illness is, so they can't be the same person. I don't know. That's why I love cryptids. I love that the idea that somebody saw something that they didn't understand, they didn't know how to explain it. Maybe they were drunk, and they just had to come up with a story because unknown things are scary, and it's human nature to want to have a reason to explain things with. It's like, it's really cool. So let me know in the comments. Do you have a cryptid? Do you have a favorite like urban legend? What's your kind of favorite like spooky story that was probably created to explain something much more mundane that we just didn't understand at the time? And you know, if you have any comments about stitching or whatever, like, you can also leave those, but you know. Oh, again, if you've stitched Mirabilias before and have opinions on how to stitch the skin, please do let me know. If I start Andromeda soon, I'll not start with her skin, but I would like to have some opinions on what to do with her. I think I'm leaning stitching over one. I want her to look great. I don't know. We'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.